Oh, yes, thank you, John.
Sure. Go ahead.
All right, waiting for the high sign from John Schnorenberg. We're good. Very good. Well, hello, all of you out there in Cyberland. My name is Kate. This is Guy. Hello to everyone in our room as well. Welcome to our Saturday lunch discussion with Guy. We try to do it once a month. We actually have a nice work party here around the foundation in Oregon, Life of Learning Foundation. And then we have a nice lunch. And after the lunch, we have this open dialogue with all of you in the room, all of you out there. So thanks for joining us today. Hi. You asked me earlier if I had checked it off my list to see if the talent was happy. Are you happy?
No.
Okay. So the format here is that we're just going to run for about 45 minutes, and you in the room know the drill. If you want to come up and sit here where I am and speak to Guy or talk about anything, you can do that at any time. No need to raise your hand. Just please be mindful of our cords that are covered up with rugs everywhere. And for you online, if you are watching and you want to make a comment, you want me to read something to Guy, just put it in the comment area of Facebook or YouTube, and I'll be happy to do that. So I thought it would be a good place to start today would be to pick up from some things that you talked about in your Insight Timer talk this morning. So if you don't know, Guy gives a talk every Saturday morning on insighttimer.com, and it's a great turnout of people. Folks tune in from all over, and today especially there were a lot of comments that I saw going by in the comment area. So there were a lot of questions, and I thought it would be good to actually try and address some of those here.
Sure.
And I'll just kind of give a refresher on what the talk was about today. So the title of today's Insight Timer talk was "Leave the Pain of the Past Where It Belongs, Behind You." And I'm going to go ahead and read the key lesson, the first key lesson that Guy had for this talk, because it sums it up. It's impossible to die to the pain of our past as long as we remain identified with an unconscious nature that can't seem to go through a day without reliving some dark memory it then summarily resists. And Guy, I really liked, I think your first story was about a mom and her daughter. The mom had gone to visit the daughter and noticed that her daughter would disappear downstairs every day.
Yeah.
And she would go down, seemingly okay mood, and then come up in sort of a darker mood. And finally, the mom asks the daughter about it, and she was, looking over things from the past, I guess old albums or something, and bringing up things from the past. And as she would do that, they would bring her down.
Her mother said, "Why are you doing that when the result is this kind of sullen, agitated state?" And she says something like, it's my obligation.
Yeah, I want to
honor these things in the past. And then what did her mother say?
Yeah, I wrote it down. She said, "But you might want to ask another question."
What's that, Mom?
What kind of person? I always wanted to be a mother. I am a mother of cats. All right, well, in any event, she said, "What kind of person does it make you when you do revisit the past?"
Yeah.
So the daughter was like, "Well, what kind of person would it make me if I didn't honor the past?" And the mom's like, "Well, what kind of person does it make you when you do it?" Mm-hmm. And that's kind of the whole point here. And I wrote down another line that you said, "We're looking at a contradiction in our own consciousness. We don't realize that we have agreed to give our attention to what pains us." And that's kind of, I thought, was sort of the whole of the talk was, where's my attention? I mean, and what is it that, lets my attention go back to basically reanimate the things from the past that I say I don't want, and yet something must want them because it keeps finding itself there.
And this is good, and we can certainly proceed along that premise, but your mind doesn't go back and revisit the past. Your mind revisits the conditioned content of itself that it calls the past. And it's what that content is stuffed with, that when you give your attention to it, suddenly it's alive to you. When it was dead, it's Lazarus in a tomb that never comes out. Suddenly the attention comes, and then everything that's connected to what you didn't want or don't want, suddenly you're facing it and wondering why you have to do that. And the answer is you don't have to do that, but you don't understand it yet,
Right.
basically.
Well, there were a couple of questions
Good.
that were in the chat area.
Let's have it.
Here's one from Nellie. Why do we do this lunacy to ourselves? Why? For emphasis, why? I'll come back up. I want to just check the screen, so you go ahead.
Our mind is so, I call it binary, but it's like a pair of bifocals. Person can do something their entire life and never suspect that it doesn't matter how many times they do it, it's not going to change what they've given their mind to. The reason that there are spiritual teachings, the reason there's a school like this, is because at a certain point, along the lines of what Nellie has asked, why do I keep doing what obviously doesn't work? It must be a form of lunacy. So that's a breakthrough in a way, just to even suspect that I'm actually doing something that is against my own best interest, because nobody believes that. No one believes, for instance, when they revisit a problem or something painful from their past, a shattered relationship, something that never came to fruition, some lost love. For that matter, even the passing of someone that you love. No one suspects that when you do that because of the nature that's attending to those things in the past, how do I say, human beings assume innocence. You assume innocence. That's why you're always shocked. But you are the furthest thing from being innocent. We are a creature that is so completely conditioned that it never even occurs to us to ask a question. Well, why would I keep doing what I do when it doesn't do anything for me? Because it's really not until you ask a question like that that you assume what this work is intended to help you do, which is you start to recognize, well, maybe there's a possibility that's not part of this bifocal vision that I have. Maybe it's not fight or flight. Maybe there's something else that I can do, that I can actually make some significant change. And this is where it's key. Not in the condition that I blame, but in the part of myself that when it calls it up, doesn't call it up without having something to blame for the pain in that moment. Here's a question that, in fact, I'm going to implement something new starting with in our classes. You know how we have key lessons?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We're going to start having key questions.
I like it.
Be points to contemplate for those of you who are willing to do it. Here's a key question. Ready? Mm-hmm. Why would I carry around something with me that I don't want?
Mm-hmm.
Why would I carry around with me something I don't want? I don't want to relive the pain of your cruelty, of that broken moment of my post-traumatic situation that produced this pain. I don't want to relive that. But you carry it with you everywhere you go. And you don't know that you carry it with you everywhere you go. That's the key. We're using the word I very carefully here. I actually take with me into every moment a certain, how shall I put this? I've been seeing something, to me, because I was about to say incredibly fascinating. Usually when we say something like that, I know people who say, you're really going to like this.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to wait to hear whether you do or don't. I'm just going to tell you anyway, and then I'll watch to see if you actually do like it. So funny. So when I say I find it personally fascinating, I'm not saying what most of us do, which is look how fascinating I am for what I'm looking at. There's nothing to do with that. I find it recently very fascinating that, and you'll just have to kind of stretch to grab this, we really do live, although we don't see it, and I intend to go into this in some depth during our talks in the Pines. Like we're sitting in a room. And as we sit here, every last person in this room is in a certain state. The state that they're in intellectually, emotionally, physically, by its relationship to itself, actually creates a certain emanation out of the individual that is the expression of the sum of whatever their particular energies are in the moment. That's a lot of fancy talk for, I can feel you, right? I see you. But see, you say, I can feel you, but you don't know that you're feeling everybody in the room. Because you are. And the fact that you're feeling everybody in the room, which you don't know because your mind will look at him or her, you'll think to themselves, why would the name of God would they wear a shirt like that today? Or why does she have to constantly be doing that? Well, isn't that interesting? They're really just all these conversations that go on in the mind, and every conversation is pointed. A motorcycle just went by at 400 miles an hour, in case you couldn't hear it. Speaking of a pinhead. So that this that I'm describing in physical terms is actually itself a manifestation of a certain field, certain kind of quantum field. And that quantum field, this body of energy, is instantaneously interconnected with every intersection that the energies in that field make. So that nothing can change in any one of those points in the field that doesn't immediately, I just realized that's what they call Indira's web. It's an Eastern teaching that doesn't instantaneously cause a similar movement to balance what that movement was. Right. Because the great field, the great divine, the force is with you, Luke, that is unendingly resolving itself. And each and every person experiences the resolution of that, whether they're aware of it or not. And more particular, that they are often responsible for the experience that comes back to them in the terms of the energy that's the feedback from what they are and what they're doing and thinking in that moment. You kind of follow me? We're kind of Babs? Okay. Look, a lot of things I say to you are not just invisible, but they belong to another level of being altogether that you participate in, but you just don't know it. That's why your hope is to awaken and start realizing that I am an unending, infinite part of a perfect process all the time. I'm just not aware of it because where am I? I've got my bifocals on. So all I see is this one little thing and I don't see anything else. So now imagine that what I've said is true. It is. And here I am, and I'm sitting here eating my gluten-free cinnamon cake and thinking about the lemon bar I'm going to take home for tomorrow. I'm not naming any names here. And I'm unaware of how, given, and this is key, given where my attention is given, that's the first problem. My attention is given to things that I don't know it's given to. Given where my attention goes, it's a lot like that part of oneself either is, in quotes, actively pursuing something or it has been passively stimulated. It actually kind of makes contact with this field that it's already in contact with, but what's in the field, it's like an instantaneous, you know those vests that you put on when you're on the river, or on a life jacket, and you pull the string and it goes like that. That is exactly what happens inside of you. You are instantaneously inflated.
Yeah,
I swear to God.
Right.
right, right.
And that very significant experience of myself fully takes every last bit of my attention, and it goes on to what I believe has caused this inflated sense of self. Now, inflated sense of self cannot just be positive, obviously. It rarely is. It's usually quite negative. So I'm inflated, and this is where the metaphor breaks down a little bit. Only when you're inflated with these energies, they don't act as something lifting you. They act like anchors.
Yeah.
So I'm actually drawn down into some state. I have no idea. See, I don't know where to go with this, how to get to it. There is no name for any state of being. But we have 100 names for every last one. No name. You know how you feel? There's no name for it.
Right.
There isn't. How can it have a name? It's new. It's completely new. But not for me, because I'm instantaneously inflated with what? The past. As surely as I sit there go like that, as surely as that, wouldn't it be hard to imagine you've jumped off a boat to save your life, you get in the water and you start blowing on this thing to save you, and the more you blow on it, the heavier it becomes and you sink. This is a pretty good metaphor for what it means when I ask, well, why would I carry around that kind of life vest? And I carry it with me everywhere I go. I don't know I carry it. This is what your work is for. I don't have a clue that I carry around with me, and then you can fill in the blank for yourself. During our next deep dive, I think I'm going to talk about, one of you asked something about chief feature. I have no idea what lives in me. Would you like to know who lives in your house? No, honestly, God, because there must be a stranger in it, because look what he keeps doing. No, the stranger in your house is you. You don't know anything about the occupants of your house. It's not an insult. If you're insulted by it, it proves what I'm saying. You don't know it. So I'm impatient like that. I judge like that. In reference to today's insight timer, just like that, I'm in the past, just like that. But I don't know. I'm in a past, and I'm going to talk about this tomorrow. I'm in a past that has no compassion in it at all. The past has no compassion in it. It's void of love. It's void of strength. The past is void of everything save for the mind that visits it and pulls out of that memory its content so as to define itself according to whatever it is that it's looking in the mirror of in that moment for itself. It's got nothing in it. So people go, I want to be a kind person. I want to get over the past. And how do I get over the past? By revisiting it. Isn't that what you do? I don't know where it was. I read something like it was very clever. Something along the lines of, you'll stop visiting the past when you lose hope that you can change it. Something along those lines. Why else would I visit the past? I'm drawn to it like a moth to a candle, am I not?
Yeah.
So if you remember today's talk, what was the reason? Why am I drawn to that candle like a moth that incidentally is consumed by its relationship with that? Why am I drawn to it? Do you remember what I said?
Something like, because I think I can change it, but I think.
No, it affirms me.
Right.
It affirms me. I am someone who has this to bear, this grudge, this problem, this relationship, this past, that's who I am. It'd be like, how many of you like to claim a spot in a junkyard?
Charlie.
Charlie, yeah. There's always one in the crowd. Right? Do you want to claim a spot in a pile of trash? That's what this mind does. It just can't wait to jump into something, and this is multifaceted, that makes sure as I consider what I'm looking at, that I really do know why it is that I'm in pain. And when I know why it is I'm in pain, it's because my reaction, my resistance to that moment has told me, you, they, this, them. And if it weren't for you, they, this, and them, I wouldn't be in this kind of pain. So in the strangest twist of things, I'm drawn to revisit the past because it affirms a pain that proves I am someone who shouldn't have to deal with you, this, or them. It's so convoluted in its activity that one never suspects. The more I revisit the past in order to change or otherwise get over the pain, the more I am drawn into a mind that needs the pain in order to affirm itself as being real. Yeah, come on.
Now, okay?
Yeah, sure. Would you carry around a weight that you don't know you're carrying, and every time the ship gets struck by something, you go down? Would you carry it? Yes or no? No. You have to find out why you do. That's what the whole talk was about. What? Why? It's true. I can't deny it. Are you easily ignited, Kate?
No. Calm, cool, collected, just like the talk the other day.
Yeah, and you never go on the defensive just like that, do you?
No, heck no.
Or put people on the offensive just
No, I
like
don't do that red-green thing that John and Deborah.
That's just a storm.
exactly.
No,
See, that's what's breathtaking to me. And the problem is it has to become breathtaking to you. The instantaneous manner in which I can assume an identity and be so sure in the assumption of that identity that it proves you don't know and that I do. That's one day you will marvel at how quickly something comes to claim your life, because that's what it does. It comes to claim your life, and you go, take me, baby. I'm yours. Let's go with this where it goes, because if I finally get you to see where you need to stop doing that, then everything's gonna be great. Okay, I'm done.
I'd love to go off in another direction with that one, but I want to go back just a little bit here. There were a couple of people this morning in Insight Timer who asked specifically about PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder.
Post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yeah, like in abuse cases or
yeah.
war,
Or war,
something
yeah.
you've seen that was horrifying and.
Like Wayne.
I'm sure he has
I
his
get
stories,
PTSD
yeah.
looking at Wayne.
Wayne's actually been in a war, all sorts of wars. No, but here are a couple people. Isabella and Susie said, "How do you help someone move through a traumatic event that continues to come up?" And I guess I think these people, and Susie asked the same thing. How is it when it seems like it goes way deeper than that it's touched something really deeply inside of you that's difficult?
First of all, what I'm about to say will mean nothing to most people. But if you listen and you're one of those people for whom it can make a difference, then everything's there. What is in another world and possible only there doesn't even occur to me as a possibility until I see the impossibility of repeating and reliving the same thing. The new possibilities appear out of the negation of something, not the affirmation of something. So that it isn't until by the grace of God, by the grace of that light that reveals the insanity of visiting the past in order to escape the pain that comes from going there, that I'm left at some point to realize, you know what, because the PTSD, I've talked to people over the years, they say, I can't cross a bridge. I can't stand heights. You know, we all have our own point at which we reach a max stress, and I can't seem to go beyond that. So I would say simply this for people who are in that place. And I'll tell you, do you know you can't, I just want to know how to say it better. With God, all things are possible. And if I'm stressed in pain at all about this seemingly impassable place in my life, and you have to. One day you will see certain things about yourself so clearly that you will think to yourself, this is impassable. Meaning, I'm never going to get past this. It's too deep, too dark. I don't even want to know about it. You have to meet the dweller on the threshold. You have to meet what lurks underneath. You have to. But if and when you do, and only you can find this out through your own experience, you will never be placed in a psychological position where whatever the nature of the prison may be is not part of the liberation that follows when you realize that that prison is only as strong as your certainty as your resistance to the experience of it. That's the strength of the prison, your resistance to it, and the refusal in that resistance to explore it because you've come to a certain place 1,000 times and I can't get past it. I can't get past it. You will never get past those places along the way until you sit along the way and wait for something that has brought you to that point in the way to show you that what you're looking at only exists as a barrier because your mind has made it that. You will see that, and then you'll see it begin to disappear, quite literally. So that PTSD, which is real, there's no question, I'll tell you what, it's unthinkable. What this world does is unthinkable. Yeah. I'm not just talking about the ins and outs of these difficult family things. Imagine sending a man or a woman off to some place where they see human beings blown apart, where hatred moves across the lands in waves. It's inconceivable. You can count yourself blessed on one hand that you didn't see it, but those who have seen it can also count themselves blessed because they understand the depth and the degradation of humanity's consciousness or the absence of it. And that's part of your development too. Isn't it?
Yes.
Your hope in the world is no different than you hope your world can change when you finally get through whatever the problems are. It's exactly the same hope, belonging to the same level of consciousness that projects something, and then what it projects, it either has hope in and it wants it, or it projects what it doesn't want and then resists it summarily. So that one goes back and forth, serving two masters, serving this mammon, this unconscious nature. So there's no solution to these things that you can take drugs, you can do all this stuff, you can seek counseling, but it doesn't change you can have counseling till the cows come home. And it doesn't change the fact that given a certain set of circumstances, appearing in a certain way, you will become, once again, everything that you would want to blame on others, but at a certain point you can't. So then the real crucible, the real post-traumatic stress disorder is when I sit inside of this moment and I know I can't go forward, but I know I can't go back. When we resist or reject any state of ourselves, which we always do, you don't think, for instance, when you are captured by thinking about him or her or this, that, you don't think that that's an avoidance, do you? Do you think you're avoiding the moment when you pick up the photo album? Do you understand what I'm saying? It's a difficult thing, what I have to do. Because I have to help you understand that you'll never know. And that when you finally understand that you'll never know, you'll have wisdom. Because then you won't be in your mind sorting through with these vines of thoughts and feelings, all the things that are trying to reconcile trying to reconcile what thoughts and feelings disturb with your thoughts and feelings. Mm-hmm. Now, how do you teach that? If you come take my place, I beg of you, you can't teach it. You can exemplify it. You can work to understand it. And then you can see the result of your work. And then let the results reveal to you where it is that you are still turning to thoughts and feelings. It's amazing. I have these thoughts, and I'm going to try to not think about this and feel so much, but now I'm thinking about what I'm not going to think about, and what I don't want to feel. So I'm still in the same world. I've just been tricked again and again and again and again. And one day, by the grace of God, you realize, you know what? I'm not going to be the horse's ass anymore. I'm just not. And then everything will say, yeah, but. And you go, you can yabbit yourself to death. I don't care. Let the world hate me. Let the world think of me what it will think of me. Let me think of me what I'll think about me. It's all the same thing. And you just have to, and then it just starts to get quiet. It's an amazing thing when you stop shooting a gun, the silence that ensues.
This is going along great with Emmerich. If you're still out there on YouTube, this is directly related to what you just posted a bit ago. And I want to throw in this one question from Steve from this morning as well. And then anyone in the room, if you want to come up, please do so. Steve says, is there anything that comes from mind energy that is not corrupted in some way? Is there no limitation to the nonsense the mind will create?
Well, the question seems to be a singular question, but it's not. How many times have you heard analogies like this? I've been making analogies for close on to 45 or 50 years. Can you clear up the water in a cup that has mud in it by stirring it? Can you? How about I can't stand the ripples in my bathtub, and so I'm using my hands to try to quiet them? Does that work? Does it? So we could do that 10,000 times. But it won't change anything until you understand there's something in you that by nature, by the grace of God, I might add, and this is again what we're going to go into during the talks in the Pines, that by grace is disturbed. By grace is disturbed. There can't be creation without disturbance. There can't be. So I am, as I've often said, our Life of Learning sweatshirt, caution, disturbed being. I'm disturbed. Well, what if I finally understand that the disturbance, like the yang, like the energetic state it is, what if it's the outcome of an interaction that I can't name? Do you not always name why you're disturbed?
Yeah.
How many times have you named why you're disturbed, calling it whoever you will call it? How many times? I'm disturbed by my health, my face, my weight, my money, we could just go through this quickly, couldn't we?
Yeah.
And you don't have a clue why you're disturbed. You just have the name of it. And the name is already conditioned. Knowledge is conditioned. Knowledge is conditioned. Everything you know to say about your state is conditioned. Because there's nothing you can name about your state that doesn't come with a quality or a characteristic. Yes or no? Doesn't everything you name about why you feel the way you do come with, preloaded with something? Yes or no?
Yeah,
What's it preloaded with?
The past.
yeah,
What, the past.
yeah, known.
What's known. So here I am. I'm always trying to figure out what's going on. And the more I reach to try to figure out what's going on, I reach into the very thing that's disturbed. So we see this great big cycle, don't we, 1,000 times? Well, when do you set yourself down? Barbara?
Well, when you see it enough.
When you can't do it anymore. Not when you're strong, not when you're wise, not that you've been visited by Christ, but you see it. I can't do that anymore. Then you've stumbled onto something immense, because now you no longer have to undo what you did the last time you were there. And at some point, all that you have stirred will quiet itself, because that's what the grand field does, is balance itself. But who can guess why it is that I don't want this field, my true nature, why it is that I don't really want it to be, in quotes, quiet?
Because I don't exist.
Because then I'll simply cease to exist as I've known myself my whole life.
Yeah,
And I haven't finished modeling the world after myself yet.
exactly.
I still have work to do.
People to convince.
Oh, God. What a grand day that is. And a grand day it continues to be. Because you'll get to see over and over again, that I can't remember the quotation. There's a beautiful Spanish proverb, something along the lines that he who never struggles never knows the divine, something along those lines. We struggle with everything except for the one thing that needs to be struggled with.
Right.
And the extraordinary thing is that what needs to be struggled with is me finally setting down all of my known struggles and be present to a struggle that's undergoing itself inside of me, and watch, observe the struggle. Observe the struggle. That's the whole thing.
Right.
We're never observing the struggle. We're too busy being part of the struggle and trying to bring about what we hope we can see when it's all said and done.
My heart. You sit in a chair and it's like, it's crazy. My name is Terry.
Nice deep breath. Because when you spoke last night in class, was it you last night?
Yes.
I can always tell when you're not breathing.
Yeah. So back to this talk this morning. In another story that you told, which was the one where that woman was in the cafe, that she visited this cafe for 25 years, sat in the same seat, ate the same food, this whole idea of this revisitation. When you were telling that story, a person,
Did you ever see Sunset Boulevard with Betty Davis?
Gloria Swanson.
What is it?
Gloria Swanson.
With Gloria Swanson. You want to be haunted for the rest of your life. You know why a movie like that has the impact it does? Because of exactly what I told in that story. I can't let go.
Yeah.
I have to keep the world somehow or other looking like it was when I was back then. Or I can't not stop trying to change what was, because if I don't change what was, listen to this for contradiction, I'm going to remain the same person I am.
Yeah.
Okay, anyway,
Great.
please go on.
so when you were sharing that story, a person in the chat area wrote Delta Dawn. And
Oh, that's an old song.
right.
Delta Dawn, what's that flower you got on?
Could it be a faded rose from days gone
A
by?
faded rose from days gone by.
So after the talk, got in my car to come here for work party. Halfway here, Terry's like, all of a sudden, Delta Dawn, start singing. I saw, wow, I didn't start that. like, oh my gosh, these eyes laying on 2 words, right? Then here I am cleaning the deck tops again, in the bathroom cleaning the toilets again. Like, and it seems like it's harmless.
Oh, no, no.
It seems like it's harmless because it's just a song. But I could see it's exactly the same. If someone had said to me, Terry, you jerk, or whatever, and that's replaying and revisiting, there's pain in that, even though I wasn't really necessarily aware of the pain. I mean, I did see every time it came up, not instantaneously, but I did see it. But it was just interesting on how what we take as like harmless is not harmless at all, especially when there's representation.
In one respect, it goes on unabated. But you can begin to see, as Terry's pointing out, that the involuntary appearance of a song that wants you to sing along with it is actually the adverse reaction to something that prompted that song inside of you. Otherwise, why would it suddenly start singing a song? Remember how kids whistle in the dark? Why do kids whistle in the dark?
They're calming themselves.
I still whistle at walking home at night. Why do kids? Because it's comforting to them.
Right.
It's an answer to a disturbance they're not aware of, but that they console themselves with that whistling. It's the same thing with that song. And there are just times like that. And it can be downright, once you actually catch it and you set your mind that I'm not going to sing that song.
That's wonderful.
Holy mother of pearl. Are you in for a whole concert by who sang Delta Dawn?
Who was it?
Tanya Tucker.
Oh, it's Tanya.
Oh, yo. Then you're at a whole concert of Tanya Tucker, which, by the way, she's actually pretty good. But that song is very haunting.
I was gonna say, you can thank me later when you guys start singing it.
Thanks so much. Oh, God. I know. Already started.
It's the love of sensation.
That's right. Yeah.
And you have to understand certain things. There will eventually be so many points that you have begun to perceive as true about yourself, like a star map almost. And you'll see that there's something in you that's still struggling to organize all of those points. You're not the organizer of those points. You are one of the points that is inseparable from all the points of a sum that is greater than its parts. And one day you'll be able to let go of trying to organize what you know so that you become the instrument, the expression of that field, if you will, of God's life, of the light. And you're no longer troubled by any black hole that suddenly appears in that horizon. It's just, there's a black hole. Meaning, here I can feel something sucking on me. Guy, come here. Let's go talk. Let's figure out why. And and here's the thing. I need to make this very clear. You are not ambivalent. This is not ambivalence. This is what you see spiritual people trying to be, is they act like they're ambivalent. This is not ambivalence. This is a highly organized, deeply energetic state where you are the witness to, how do I say, most of us love nature to some extent. You look up at a night sky when it's dark enough, not during the worm full moon or whatever they call it this month. All of those points that you can see, first of all, are the size of a pinhole. Everything you see up there is the size of a pinhole. Doesn't it seem like it's massive?
Yeah.
It's a pinhole. Nevertheless, everything that's twinkling in there is an expression of a corresponding part. You can feel, without knowing, in quotes, the feeling, all of those lights, all of the leaves that are moving in the wind, all of the colors that are moved by the leaves in the wind, all that has a corresponding part to yourself that's part of this field. The field is enjoyed in its entirety. That's what peace is. But when you try to take a piece out of that field, then you lose any semblance of being someone who can be quiet and at home with yourself. These are the things that you have to, but you just have to go through it. You have to, you have to go through seeing that you're not a God. You think you are.
Yeah.
Well, you examine look, I'm not here judging. You examine everything about yourself, and do you not sit in an everlasting, eternal judgment of everything that's going on? What are all of your thoughts about? Trying to weigh and measure and get everything balanced so you can go back to a balanced state.
Yes.
And one day it'll dawn on you. That's the so-called fall of humanity, the descent of the angel into the earth. All of these stories represent a certain psychological state that is intrinsic in an unconscious mind. The unconscious mind is that state. And because it is separate from everything, it has to try to get everything that it imagines into a unity. And that mind can't create a unity. It can only create a static state of being apart from everything that it thinks got settled and then finds out it didn't. And then it has to go back into it again and again and again, revisit the past.
Well, we're out of time.
Oh,
Shall we wrap up?
unless there's something else.
Does anyone have anything they're dying to say? Not today. It's a wrap.
That's
Okay.
a wrap.
Thanks everyone for joining us. And I'm just going to say we have some great events coming up. Go to our website, guyfinley.org/events, and you'll see all the things posted there. But notable things are, of course, tomorrow we have our talk with Guy at 9:30 a.m. Pacific, and I just want you to know the title. Forgiving others their debts begins with paying our own. So I think that's something we'll all want to listen to. And then Deep Dive Wednesday, we have another Deep Dive Wednesday this coming Wednesday. And we have a Zoom workshop coming up with Guy on June 6th. It's sponsored by New Renaissance Bookshop. And we've got our Talks in the Pines, which is less than a month away at this point, which is crazy. So that's June 21st to the 23rd. So please do join us whenever you can. I think that's it. Did I forget anything?
You exhausted me.
I tried to keep it short this time, so.
You did good.
All right, bye everyone. We'll see you tomorrow and every other day.